6 months have seen a number of key developments in markets which have had an impact on the positioning, especially for the equity market, where there were three key trends. Firstly, we saw a growth to value rotation. This was a phenomena throughout emerging markets, but it was even more pronounced for Latin America. Secondly, we saw a steepening of the domestic yield curves, and this was very significant in markets such as Brazil, where interest rate hikes were material. And last but not the least, we saw domestic outflows in both Brazil and Chile, which had an impact on market performance. And this was a key reason why the allocation to equities has declined by about 3% to 63% of the portfolio in favor of debt due to market moves. The debt markets were also negatively impacted by factors such as increased political risk and higher interest rates, but much less so in comparison to equities. In terms of country allocation, Brazil was most negatively impacted by these trends. So we have seen a reduction in allocation to Brazil by about 5%. And this is mainly because we have chosen not to top up our holdings which have sold in these markets. And we have allowed Mexico to run, which has held better. So Mexico weight has gone up by about the same 5%. In terms of other factors, uh, it is estimated by the end of the financial year, 31st of August 2022, the revenue reserve would reach around £573,000. The performance of the fund has been challenged over the last 6 months, and this is mainly due to the equity portfolio. Overall, the fund underperformed its benchmark by about 285 basis points, and this is because the equity portfolio underperformed by 331 basis points and offset the positive contribution from the debt portfolio. And this is mainly due to the reasons that we have discussed, the most important one being the growth to value rotation that led to a poor stock selection during the period. So this has been a busy period for us. On the equity side, we have added four new companies, and this is mainly to add to our commodities exposure. And we have funded this by exiting four companies. So first, on the initiations, we initiated a company called Ryzen. It is a recent IPO, but it is one of the leading sugar and ethanol producers globally, and it's a high quality play on energy play. We also bought Clabin, which is again one of the lowest cost producers globally because it's a vertically integrated pulp and paper producer, and it will benefit from growth in demand for paper packaging to replace plastic packaging as environmental concerns continue to grow. We have also added to oil and gas exposure through a company called 3R Petroleum, which is a junior oil and gas exploration business. And it mainly owns assets which have been divested by Petrobras, so mature assets which are already cash flow generative. And it's also run by mostly ex-management, ex-employees of Petrobras who know the assets well. We also have added to our financials exposure through adding Credit Corp, which is a leading bank in Peru. We took advantage of attractive valuations to add this company. And we have funded these initiations by exiting two companies in Brazil. So a clothing retailer called Lojas Runner, which we have held for a number of years, but we feel is not best positioned to handle the, the, the growth in e-commerce and the challenges that presents to traditional retailers. And we've also exited BK Brazil, which is the Burger King franchise in Brazil, and this is mainly because of the inflationary environment, which puts pressure on costs, while the company has limited pricing power to pass that cost pressures on. So, on the basis of outlook, The other two companies we have exited were small cap names, Hotel City, a hotel chain in Mexico, and Ayanza, an infrastructure company in Peru that we exited, taking advantage of liquidity events. I would like to talk about one company from the healthcare sector and one company from the IT sector, because these sectors have a low weight in the Latin American index and are typically ignored by investors. The first company is Notre Dame Intermedica, and this is a company we bought in the portfolio in December 2018 after monitoring it for a while since its IPO. I like the business because of its simple business model. It is an insurance business with its own hospitals where it sends its insurance customers for treatment. So a low cost, highly efficient business, very well managed, which has grown tremendously over the last couple of years, both organically and through inorganic growth. This company is undergoing a merger currently with its closest competitor, so will become even more dominant in size once that merger completes. And also, it's targeting the lower end of the private healthcare market in Brazil, which is the fastest growing market segment. The other company I want to talk about is Globant. We bought this stock in September 2017, and since then, the share price is up by more than 6 times. So it's been a phenomenal investment for us. I like this company because it's the leading, one of the leading IT digital services and consulting companies in Latin America. It's a sector which is growing in excess of 20% every year, and Globant remains at very well positioned to benefit from this growth, given its prominent position in a number of growth verticals. I would like to highlight three important themes in Latin America. The first one is green economy. This is a mega trend and is important theme globally, but even more so for Latin America, given the region's exposure to commodities. Um, we have exposure to the theme through commodity companies such as Grupo Mexico, but also through renewable farm operators such as Omega Energia in Brazil, and renewable equipment makers such as WEG. The countries in Latin America like Chile, Peru, they have some of the best positioned commodity producers in the world. So lithium, copper, nickel producers, which will continue to benefit from the rise of electrification that we are likely to see in coming years. The second theme that I would like to highlight is digitalization. And this is an important theme for Latin America because the level of penetration of digital services is quite low, but the adoption rate is high. And this is because of the high penetration of smartphones. And we have exposure to this theme in the fund not only through IT companies like Globant that we talked about, but also through e-commerce names like Mercado Libre. During the pandemic, especially, we even saw some of our traditional retailers growing very fast in the digital space, and this is all very encouraging for the future of the region. And the third theme I would like to highlight is the domestic consumption growth theme, which is important for Latin America given its young population and growing middle class.